Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit and do a quick review on this new tank destroyer, the KanonenJagdpanzer. I know a lot of you are probably still on the fence about whether or not you want to get it, and I think I watched on the other reviews that people like Jingles and Quickie Baby posted, and I feel like there's a few things that they didn't cover that I found when playing this tank that might be useful to some of y'all. So I just want to do a quick review, and I'm going to try to splice in some footage from various games just to cut down on the length of the video and then show you a really good game at the end. But I've been having a lot of fun with this tank destroyer, and it's not really the best tier 8 tank destroyer by a long shot, and it's kind of hard to play, but it's really rewarding when you play it successfully. And I guess I should probably just start with like the good things about it. For a tank destroyer, it's obviously very fast and it has very good camo rating. Everyone already knows that, but the gun arc on this is really good. That means you can, a lot of tank destroyers, like for example the SU-122-44, have a terrible gun arc, and that means like you can't aim the gun very far without having to move the entire tank, and once you do that, the reticle blooms out tremendously and you have to re-aim, and with this long aim time it obviously makes it hard to hit moving targets. You don't have quite as much of a problem with this on the KanonenJagdpanzer just because like I said, this gun arc is really wide. It's something like maybe 15 degrees to either side, I want to say. I'm not sure. I've had a hard time finding like hard stats on this tank just because it is so new, but suffice to say, it's wide. You can like sit on a ridge and just like pow 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 pow, like hit targets as they're moving without moving your tank, and that's actually great for your camo rating as well, because if you're running a camo net, it when you move the tank, when you pivot the tank around, it deactivates the camo net, so you lose that camo rating. And that's one thing I like about it. It has very good gun depression as well, and pretty good reverse speed. I want to say it's like 25 in reverse, and it's pretty fast. And the thing with the gun depression is you can kind of play this like a medium tank and like poke ridge lines and take a shot then pop back and stuff like that. So the overall gun arc is really good. It's a little bit weak in elevation, so don't try to drive it down a hill and shoot upwards, because that's not going to work too well. Just obviously probably because it's such a low profile tank, like there's the breach goes in here, it probably doesn't have a lot of room to go down. Sorry, obviously very fast, I already mentioned that. Let's talk about the gun a little bit. This gun, as you may know, is a little bit underwhelming. Most people have already mentioned the DPM issues. You're looking at maybe like 2300 DPM with the rammer on this gun, and you definitely want to have a rammer on it because it's not spectacular. But here's the thing, this tank also gets basically a Hesh round that has 102 millimeters of penetration, and it has something like 320, I want to say, average damage. What is it? Yeah, that significantly ups your DPM, and there's a lot of targets that this thing will face that can be penetrated by that armor, and with this speed, I find this tank is really good as sort of a counter scout, because I mean you can hit like a Walker Bulldog or SP1C or whatever, any kind of light tank pretty much, with this Hesh round and do full damage most of the time. It's great for even the sides of American tanks and obviously the rear of most tanks, and I run, you can tell, a pretty decent amount of it, and I feel like that's really the key to success with this tank, is in terms of doing a lot of DPM and obviously kill securing as well. You really should use it, and because your reload time is so fast, like it doesn't take a long time to switch out if you have the wrong ammo type loaded. The heat round is also good. 250 millimeters of penetration. It has something like 50% more shell velocity than the AP round, and that I found is really good. It gets to the target almost as fast as you click, so it's good to have a few of those on hand, and I try not to spam them because I do use this tank to make money, and I'll talk about that later. It actually makes pretty good money, but I find it's really good for kill securing just because it just gets to the target so quickly. You don't have to lead at all, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's appears to be some weird mechanic in World of Tanks where like your shots start bouncing when the target's on one hit. It's kind of dumb. I don't know, but that's what I've noticed. So yeah, that's one thing I like about this tank is that all the shell types have a use, and I feel like you have to kind of really know how to use each one well enough to be proficient in it. And I'll show you that in my game. But yeah, the thing about with the main AP round though, these stats are a little bit misleading in my opinion, just because it is technically accurate, but I found the shell velocity is fairly slow, so you have to lead your target quite a bit, and the shell arc is fairly slow as well, or fairly steep as well, so a lot of times you'll have sort of like a plunging fire effect and the shell will come down and bounce off the turret or something like that, and I don't know, it seems less accurate than it is on paper. You really have to like lead your targets with this shell type, and kind of aim a little bit low is what I found helps as well. Like I mentioned with the plunging fire and everything. But the good thing about this is it costs almost nothing. Like look at this, 355 credits per shell. Compare that to another tank destroyer like the SU-122, 1025. See, that's a big difference. So in terms of damage, you can do more damage. You can fire almost 4 shells with this to 1 with this, and I mean, obviously that's a tier 7 tank destroyer, but there are tier 8 tanks that have that 122mm Russian gun on it still. So yeah, like if you can do a decent amount of damage, what I usually aim for when I just grind credits is try to get 2,000 damage per game, and this will make like 40,000 credits, and I'll show you that. And if you don't take a lot of damage, and even if you do, you can make a lot of money. Basically, as long as you don't spam these heat rounds too much, you can make a lot of money in this tank destroyer. So that's definitely something it has going for it. Also, it just looks really cool. Don't you guys think it looks cool? It's like a sleek shark tank or something. I don't know. It almost looks like it has like a little tail back here or something. I'm not sure what that is. Probably like an ammo box or something. But I definitely think it's one of the cooler looking tank destroyers. Let's see. I already mentioned the Hesh. It has good camo rating. Obviously, I haven't found the hard stats on it, but I think I found it has very good camo rating. Like if you know your bushwork pretty well, you're probably not gonna get spotted too often. Let's see. Oh, one other thing that a lot of people don't mention is this tank actually has a diesel engine. You can obviously see all these stats here, and the traverse is pretty good, so you're probably not gonna get circled. I mean, you can get circled by some things, but not too many things. Here's the thing though, it does have a diesel engine, so if you were thinking, oh, I'm gonna mount the high octane on this, you can't. I'm sorry, you can't. It sucks. I was disappointed as well, but the upside to that diesel engine is you only have a 12% fire chance, and that's actually good because this tank has no armor whatsoever, and like anyone who drives any French tank ever will tell you, having no armor means you're gonna be the guy that gets shot first, because everyone wants credits and XP, and they're gonna load HE, and they're probably gonna overmatch this 30mm armor. And I think I read somewhere like historically it had 50, so I'm not sure what's up with that. I could be wrong on that. Doesn't matter. Anyways, Artie is always gonna hit you in this, so you don't want to get spotted, but because of that, it's not necessarily the worst idea to have a large first aid kit in addition to a small first aid kit on this, just because I think it does, yeah, if it adds 15% of protection to the crew from injuries, and like you don't have to use it, but I mean just having it there helps a lot. And I haven't found myself getting set on fire in this tank, probably because of the diesel engine. So That's what I would recommend. I do seem to notice the engine gets knocked out fairly quickly if you get shot in it, but I mean, if you're getting shot from behind in this thing, you're probably already screwed anyways. So yeah, that's the strategy I recommend. Just try to load some HESH rounds and try to find thin-skinned targets to take on, and you know, it doesn't have the best DPM, but because it's fast, you can place your rounds where they're needed in the battle and just try to make your rounds count and try to kill secure and stuff like that. I mean, people might say like, oh, you're kill stealing or whatever, but I mean, I think it's important just to not have enemy guns firing back at you. I still haven't gotten my ace tanker in this game, and I've had like some 4,000 damage games in it, so people have been doing fairly well in it. I do have my first mark of excellence there. For equipment, I recommend a rammer, obviously the standard tank destroyer rammer, binoculars, camo net. I tried running this without the camo net and like vents. I don't think it worked very well. It loses camo rating obviously when it fires, so I don't think it's the best idea. I actually went back to this. I can maybe see it with optics if you want to play it as sort of like a aggressive scout kind of tank, and I'm sort of having fun with that play style, but I keep defaulting back to just like camping in this thing because it seems to be what it's best at. Let me talk about a few things I noticed about this tank that I don't really like, and I feel like some of the other YouTubers didn't mention this. The terrain resistance doesn't seem to be very good. I have a crew here, my Panzer 1, whatever, that tank crew, and I almost have almost full off-road driving in this. I said almost twice. And it still gets bogged down in swamps and like well, just swamps basically, like, you know, hard terrain, and it turns really slowly, and I don't know, I haven't found hard stats like I said, but I think it has not the best terrain resistance. And another thing about the gun, even though it has a good gun arc and even though it has good aim time, I find the reticle blooms very significantly when you're moving it across the gun arc, even with almost full snapshot on this. So I definitely recommend both snapshot and off-road driving on this. I'd probably go for whatever the smooth ride is on this, because that helps with traversing the actual tank. And this thing is terrible at shooting on the move. It's just bad. You almost might as well not shoot because it's not going to go anywhere. I think maybe like I'll land 1 out of 20 shots on the move when I'm shooting this thing. You can obviously like land shotgun enemies, kind of like E25 style, but I don't know. Don't expect to do it often because it's not great at it. Yeah, I think that's it pretty much for the good and the bad. It's a fun tank destroyer to play. Like, it's a tank that I don't always do well in, but I find myself keep coming back to it just because it's so fun to play and it's so fast and it's just so cool looking. And it makes good credits too. Like, you don't have to have amazing games to make good credits with this, even on a standard account. Alright, here's a quick little bit of a game, and I'm gonna put it in fast mode just for sake of brevity, but basically I'm going to the usual tank destroyer spot. You've probably seen this a million times before, but you'll notice I don't have camo on this tank yet. Not camo paint, and I don't have a camo net either. So that's when I was still experimenting with running the vents, and I get spotted right away, and you'll see this does pretty good speed in reverse. And I read somewhere in real life it actually did 70 kilometers in reverse, which was pretty ridiculous. I wish it could do that in this game. Then you could just drive it backwards and shoot at the enemy. But anyway, so it was after this game I kind of decided that I want to put the camo net back on there and keep running it, just because you'll see I get spotted a lot here when I'm firing. A lot of the time it's because that bulldog's close by, and again, using those HESH rounds, getting good penetration rolls. Let's speed this up a little bit. But because the tank backs up so quickly, and because you don't need to expose that much of yourself. See, that was bad. That didn't penetrate, but this next one makes up for it. 353. So yeah, it could probably pen that KV2 even. I don't think I tried that this game, but this is what I'm talking about with just because the tank is so low profile and because it can reverse quickly and it has good gun deflection, you can kind of poke and not get hit in return. Like the moment I get spotted, see, I just like run back and they can't hit me. And that bulldog is spotting me, so I decided to kill him. So I'm just gonna speed this up a little bit. And that was kind of bad. 28 is a hard target. I decided to kill the bulldog just because he's spotting me and he's cramping my style, so I needed to kill him. And I take a shot at the Jagdpanzer, and I'm taking more shots, kind of speeding it up here just for. I get almost 4,000 damage this game, so that's pretty good. But here's another thing about this tank I'll show you. They start moving in. I don't think I tracked the Jagdpanzer. Oh, I did. Yeah, this tank has perma-track potential just because it fires so quickly. And as they're moving in, I'm taking shots at the enemies here. And here's what I'm talking about. This would be pretty difficult to do for a lot of tanks. Not so much this, like later on. Here we go. I'm kind of poking a little bit, and because I have a low profile tank and a good gun arc and good gun depression, they can't really hit me that well and they can't spot me that well. Like I'm getting spotted intermittently, but it's... See, I can fire at them without exposing almost any of my tank, and that's definitely a good thing. You definitely want to take advantage of this tank. This tank's low profile when you can do that thing. And anyway, we basically get rolled, so I'm gonna speed this up a little bit again. I don't know why this IS-3 didn't attack me. I guess he just fired and he was falling back. And here's another good thing about this tank. It is fast. Like, that doesn't shock anybody, but this thing is very good at relocating. And I noticed the situation there was bad, so I went this way, and they're all pushing this way, so I'm kind of trying to cut them off. And I was hoping that IS-3 would come out again so I could shoot him from this bush, but he doesn't. I mean, it's a tree actually, but whatever. So I noticed they're pushing over there, so I decided to go and finish off that KV2. And that's kind of cool thing about this tank and having good speed and good camera rating. You just kind of pop out of nowhere and blindside people like that, and it's definitely good for that. I know I'm probably making your eyes bleed with this, but I'm just trying to cut down on the time. And look at this, I just switched flanks completely in like a minute. Okay, so quick recap of that game. You can see here, not a whole lot of spotting. I spotted a few of those tanks initially, just from that bush position, but it's not, you know, it wasn't the best spotting game, but I got a decent amount of damage, 3,735, almost 4,000. The whole game was basically just like camping and shooting. It wasn't that exciting. There's nothing really to talk about in these screens, but here's what I'm talking about with the credit earnings. I actually made 66,000 credits that game, and even though I almost took full damage to my tank and I almost expended my entire ammunition supply, at least with standard ammo, I still made a pretty decent amount of money. What was that, like 40,000? I mean, it's definitely a good credit earner. Okay, here's another quick little gameplay segment here. Just show you a quick position I like to take up on this spawn in Mountain Pass. Just because this tank is really fast, it's actually pretty good at getting to this position here and catching the enemies as they're crossing out of their base to go into that 1 to 2 area, 1 2 line where they can, you know, basically get stuck in. And here's what I mean with this gun depression and this gun arc. You can kind of like aggressively poke and just fire, then get back into cover, and they can't hit you. And I'm gonna speed up a little bit, but it doesn't have the worst spotting range either. 360. I can't wait till I get recon and situational awareness on this, because I feel like the spotting will really improve on it, and you'll just make the game better, that much better. And here's what I'm talking about with like the permatrack potential. Well, I don't know if I permatracked him, but I think he used a repair kit once he realized he would get permatracked, but it reloads pretty fast, and you can track people and keep them in place and do a lot of damage that way. And I'm just gonna speed this up, but yeah, you can have this kind of aggressive supporting sort of role and not expose too much of your tank, and it's a good way to go. Enough of that. This is what I really wanted to show you from this segment. If you notice that bridge area, around D5, D4, there's a T-34 and a T-30 that are coming there, and the IS-6 is the only thing that's holding. Here, I'll do this. That's even better. They're coming this way basically, and no one here is supporting. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, someone's got to do that. And once I noticed the Tiger and the IS-6 falling back, I decided to go here. And this is one thing that I feel like this tank is really good at. Just the camo rating, but also with this gun arc, you'll see what I'm doing here in a second. There you go. I did damage to that T-30 and I spotted him and I fell back so he couldn't hit me. But if you line the gun up just right, you can kind of poke around corners as you could in a real tank, and then just fall back really quickly and take a shot. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do here. See, I spot the T-34. Well, that hit his gun mantless, so I didn't do anything. I'm spotted, so I fall back behind the rock where he can't hit me. Wait for myself to get unspotted. But in the meantime, you hear that ding? I'm getting spotting damage just because I'm spotting this guy, both of these guys. And there you go, put a shot in him, fall back, and he can't do anything just because by the time he sees me, I've already fired a shot and he's already taken damage, and now I'm falling back behind this rock. So I'm basically holding up a T-30 and a T-34, and those are two very dangerous tanks, but I'm not letting them advance, and I'm getting them spotted for my team as well, and I'm sort of getting some supporting fire, not a whole lot. But the main thing is, because this tank is so fast in reverse, and because I have this good gun arc, I can kind of just poke around this rock. And obviously the camo rating helps a lot. I can just kind of poke around this rock. Oh, and that was the best example. He probably just got a bad RNG roll, but I still like backed out of the way. And I'm just farming damage on these guys, and there's not a whole lot they can do. I mean, if they got together and bum rushed me, they'd probably win, but I guess they think they're gonna land a shot on me, and I don't let them do that. So that gives my team time to basically take out the enemies around that 1 to 2 corridor and regroup. And this guy's moving in. Let's see here. And I wait for that T-34 to turn his turret. Someone tracked him. I think someone else was shooting at him. But there you go. I basically just got a free T-34 there.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
I think that's pretty much the end of that there. Alright, so here's my game. I feel like this game pretty much kind of encompasses everything about how a lot of the features of this tank and how it should be played. At least one of the ways it should be played. And you'll see right away I'm tempted to rush towards the hill on mines here, that hill that everyone wants to take on mines right away, just because. And I have had some success doing that, but this tank has kind of what I like to call Hellcat syndrome, because like the Hellcat, it's very fast and people will tend to, and there's another thing about this tank, you don't want to get rammed at all. I just took 59 damage from running into that OI or whatever that was. I think it was an OI. an oh-ho. And there's me talking shit in chat. Anyway, so I changed my mind and I decided to go up to this standard tank destroyer position here. And like I was saying, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble just holding down the gas pedal and trying to drive really fast in this thing. And sometimes it's useful to get into positions and hold them, but a lot of times they'll get you killed. So do that with caution. Better yet, don't really do it unless you really think you like have a good chance you know what you're doing. And see what I'm talking about? I'm gonna show you some of this. I don't have the best start here, and that was just a poorly aimed shot, but I'm gonna show you what I mean with the shell trajectory on this tank. Like, I'm taking shots at this M4 45 and he's kind of hiding, and that one goes in. And here's another thing with this tank: never fire snapshots because it's gonna miss. But see how all the shots are kind of plunging down into the top of his turret? I don't know. I mean, I guess this isn't the best example, but you'll see later on it keeps doing that. And I think if I aimed lower there, I probably would have done damage to that guy. But yeah, it tends to do that in this tank, and I don't know. I guess it's just because that short barrel length probably doesn't get the best shell velocity. It does with heat though, as you'll see. And again, I just hit that into his mantlet. I never remember the M4 being that well armored. Like, sure, it wasn't when I was driving it. Maybe it's something with the HD model. Anyway, at this point I noticed the team is kind of crumbling, so I decided to relocate, start taking pod shots. I noticed they're on the hill now, so I relocate and to a position to where I can still cover the middle ground, but I can get the hill as well. And this is where the game starts to pick up for me, at least. We're starting to take back some kills and we're capturing the base, but you know, they have the hill already, so we're kind of at a disadvantage. And I spot, well, I don't know if I spotted him, but somebody spotted that KanonenJagdpanzer and I take him out. Same tank that I'm driving, my brother, I killed him for the greater good. And I notice on the map here that all of these enemies, well, a lot of them are going towards this lighthouse here. So again, notice I'm staying in cover as much as possible, and I loaded a HESH round for that AMX, but it doesn't work. It misses. Spoilers. See what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like it has 0.32 accuracy, but this is what I'm talking about here though. I hit that bulldog frontally for 275 damage. That's a HESH penetration. Like, that was a pretty low roll for a HESH shell, but it's still higher than you'd get. And look at that, 386 on the Cheery. That's about the same as a hit from one of the Russian 122mm guns out of this 90mm gun that fires every like 5.5 seconds. If you can really put the DPM of this HESH shell to work, you can do a lot of damage and make a lot of money that way. But I'm just looking for targets and trying to hit targets. As I was saying earlier in my patent video, like, if you don't have shots at something, try to find shots at something else. So it looks like this Cheery and that Bulldog are backing off, and I'm telling the 110, go to the town and help them because they're getting outnumbered. And like, I have this good bush position here with my binoculars, and I can spot them as they're coming across into the town, and I can just destroy them with these HESH rounds. So he doesn't listen though. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I decided to relocate and help them, and here's the speed of this tank. Like, it's definitely good for relocating, and that's what I'm talking about with snapshots. Like, don't take snapshots because you're gonna miss. And here comes the Bulldog, and I'm not sure what he's doing here. He drives up onto the rock and shows me the underside of his tank. Not that it would matter, but I killed him. And here's what I'm talking about with the heat shell velocity and making your DPM count in this tank. See, there's a T-54. He's on one shot. He's got a lot of armor. It's a fast, low-profile tank. And look at that. just the shell velocity on those heat rounds is ridiculous. The moment I pull that trigger, it's already there and he's dead, and that's a very dangerous tank that I just secured. And no, it wasn't a lot of damage, but I mean, that T-54, how many games on YouTube have you seen of T-54s carrying games like this? Like, you want to take those guys out as quickly as possible. So I'm taking shots of this Cheery again, and
Enemy armor is damaged.
I'm getting kind of low rolls, but I mean, it's still penetrating. It's still doing more damage than I think it would, well, obviously, than it would with AP shells. And notice I'm very sparing with my use of the heat shells because they do cost a lot of money, but like sometimes it just pays off. Like, it's just a good idea to kill certain targets like that T-54. And this is how I feel like you should use your speed in this tank to relocate between different positions, but you don't really want to get too aggressive early on. You just want to like protect your HP, and only then do you want to start getting aggressive. And I load a heat shell because that ISU is on one shot and he's a very dangerous tank, and I just want to secure that kill as well. So that's what I'm doing. And here's the gun depression of this tank. It's really good.
Enemy armor is
And again, good shell velocity, so ISU's dead, and right away I'm taking cover because the RD's gonna want to hit me. Not only just because I'm the only person spotted, but also because, you know, like I said, it has no armor, and you'll see that in a second here. So I decided to go for the hill and more standard bushwork tactics with binoculars and everything. And let me see if I can slow this down. Let me show you what I mean here with this gun arc. So my binoculars deploy, and I spot any day now the GW Panther, and look at that. I don't have to move my tank to take a shot at him, even though he's pretty far out of, you know, gun arc kind of distance, and that means I don't expose my camo rating. If I was really smart, I actually would have moved back and not taken that shot until after I moved back, and I do get spotted here, and this is what I'm talking about. It's really dangerous with this armor. He missed me, and that's almost all of my health gone right away. 874 damage from that artillery, but it doesn't matter. The Hess shells are doing their job, and he's dead. And this could have been dangerous. And the GW Panther, I don't know what he was doing. I guess he has 6th sense because he doesn't wait to move out until, well, maybe not.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
I don't know. He just like fed me that kill. I guess I don't know what he was thinking, but there's my Top Gun. And here's what I mean about this tank. You just want to pick your ammunition for the target and try to engage targets as much as possible. Like, when you don't have the best DPM in tanks, you want to make every shot count. And even if you're not doing a lot of damage, kill securing is really useful for winning games. Like, you don't want enemy tanks still alive. That sounds really obvious, but you don't want enemy tanks still alive, so just try and kill secure. And if you have to use a Hesh round or a heat round, just go ahead and use it, because you'll probably live longer, and then you can do more damage with your standard ammo. Okay, so here's the end plates. Almost an ace tanker, but not really. I got a Top Gun though, so I'm pretty happy. So as you can see there, 51,000, almost 52,000 credits earned. I think there was an XP multiplier going on at the time. It was like the powering up your ancient weapon or whatever. So obviously that's not an accurate XP amount, but so I shot a lot of targets, and you can see it did a decent amount of damage. I guess there's nothing really much to talk about here. Decent amount of XP, so I don't know. I guess people are still kind of, there's not a lot of people driving this tank, so it's, I must say it actually was fairly easy for me to get my first gun mark in it, just because there's probably not a lot of people driving it right now. Yeah, same thing here. Just like obviously, most of my damage is from a distance of more than 300 meters, just because I was camping in the back there. But this tank is good at camping. That's kind of like what it's for, almost. I mean, it's not the only thing it can do, but it's good at it. I think this really is kind of the only screen I want to talk about that much. Even with those two heat shells and the fact that this was a standard account, I still made something like 30,000 credits on this game. And granted, yeah, I got a Top Gun, but I only did 2,500 damage, so that's not really a lot for a tier 8, but it still made a lot of money. And if I hadn't fired those two heat shells, I'd probably be, well, I mean, I'd be making even more money. I'd make 8,000 more credits. So this thing is really good at making a lot of credits, and it's down, I think, obviously to the low repair cost, but also it's down to that low ammunition cost. And look at those Hesh rounds, 350 bucks a pop, and you saw that damage roll on that Cheery, 386 damage. So if you can get a lot of hits like that, you can get like, if you can honestly just get like 5 to 6 hits in this tank, you can make money. And I know that's not really like a great game or anything, but sometimes you're just playing to make money, so you can buy that next tier 10 or whatever. And I have to say this tank is good for that. It's like I said earlier, it's rewarding when you do well. It's kind of not so rewarding, it's kind of infuriating when you don't do well, but I don't know, I keep wanting to play it, and that translates into good credit earnings. So I think this is a pretty decent tank. I mean, if you're looking for like your one tier 8 credit earner, you probably don't want this tank. But you know, if you want a decent credit earner and you have a lot of German tank destroyers that you have crews you can train for, crews you can transfer into this, I say this isn't a bad way to go. It's a pretty good tank. It's fun to play. It's unique. All of the ammo is kind of interesting. Like, you don't have, it's not like a kind of tank where some of the like the HE round is basically useless. I mean, I don't know. I've been having a lot of fun with this, and I think maybe some of you guys will as well, depending on what kind of play style you like. And if you like the E25, you'll probably like this as well. It's not quite as good as the E25, I'll say that right away, but it's still pretty decent in my opinion.